Start from the second one.
Hey guys, we're ramping up.
Yay! Oh my God, Kayla.
I know, right?
Did I hit that? And I don't even realize that I'm being destructive. I'm not upset. No, I classy for this. Are we ready?
Whenever you're ready.
Go for it.
Okay. Shit. I mean, okay. So our topic is interviewing. We're going to be talking about the different types of interviewing along with body language, questions you can ask during an interview and what you're going to be asked. We're going to be talking about dress code and the do's and don'ts of interviewing along with good and bad experiences. So like I said, there's a lot of different types of interviews. There's one-on-one, which is the same thing as like face-to-face interviewing. There's group interviewing, which is another word to say panel interview. There's telephone interviews, and there's video conferencing. Okay, so our first one is one-on-one. This is probably the most common, the one that we're all used to. It's usually just you and the person that's interviewing you. It's a lot less difficult than a group interview because there's less room for distractions or interruptions. It's always important to bring your resume with you to any interview, especially this one. You should always be prepared to ask questions at the end. And you should also be prepared to have other interviewers interview you, more than one. I personally have had 3 people asking me questions, and it was just me when I've gone to job interviews before. So the next one we have is group interviews. This is when multiple candidates are being interviewed at the same time. A lot of times there can be multiple interviewers interviewing everybody at once as well. This is more difficult because there's a lot more going on, so there's more room for distraction and interruption. It can also take place that the interviewers are interviewing everybody separately, so it's just really distracting. But it's a great way to show your individual skills and show that you can work in a team as opposed to just being by yourself. Okay, so the next one is phone interviews. It's important to find a quiet room. They can be scheduled or unscheduled. It's important that your children don't pick up the phone for you. You want to have a pen and paper ready to write things down. You want to have your resume in front of you. You want to smile as you talk because it really does make a difference, and you could feel it like when you're speaking. You want to listen first and then speak because you want to hear everything that they have to say. And even though they can't see you, it's really important to dress the part because it just makes you feel more confident when you're talking to them over the phone. And I think you take it more seriously when you dress professionally. So then we have video conferencing. Skype is a big one that people use. Organizations like using video conferencing because it's quick and it's effective, and you don't have to worry about the hassle of scheduling interviews with multiple people. Again, you want to make sure you have a quiet space. You want to make sure your kids aren't like barging through the door while you're trying to speak to somebody. They can see you, unlike telephone interviews, so you want to be aware of your background. Make sure like you're in a clean, neat environment. They don't see like your mess in your room. Want to make sure you have good lighting, that they can see you, and a clear audio. That way you're not like getting muffled. So our last type is lunch and dinner interview or restaurant interviews. These aren't as common, but you do want to be prepared if you have to do them. You should be there 15 minutes early. Again, dress professionally. You should probably research the venue that you're going to so you know what you're supposed to be wearing. And again, bring your resume. You want to maybe bring like a small notepad and paper in case you need to jot some things down. It's important to let them order first so you know the price range of like what to order. Again, don't order alcohol even if they do and they offer you some. It's just not professional. And try to stay away from stuff that you have to pick up with your hands. It can just get messy. It's better to just find something you can just like nibble on with like a fork. So then we're going to go into dress code, the do's and the don'ts for men and women, what to wear and what not to wear during your interview. So For men, it's pretty basic, just like a nice suit and tie. Try to stay away from like crazy like patterns for your suit because it's just distracting. Black, dark gray, navy blue is probably more what you want to go for. Again, you can bring like a leather folder to put your resume in. You want to make sure you're like clean shaven and you smile. Like in this example, you want to stay away from like heavy patterns and bright colors because again, it's just distracting and it takes away from your interview. So for women, again, you want to make sure you dress professionally. You want to wear simple jewelry, nothing that's going to be like clanging against the desk, nothing that can stand out. You want to wear simple colors. You should probably look like you could match a man in a suit. That's probably like, you know, a good general idea to stick with. You want to dress for the job that you want, and you can also research the dress code for the company so you know like where to stay. Again, don't wear anything like really low cut. It's probably unprofessional, a little bit inappropriate. Don't wear like bright colored nail polish or big jewelry. Again, it's just very distracting and you want to just stay professional and clean looking. So for your hair, for a man, if you don't want to completely shave your face, you could just keep it clean and neat and well shaven. And for women, a ponytail or a bun is probably the best bet. Or if you want to keep your hair down, just make sure it's back and not in your face because then it could just be distracting and you could like lose focus of like what you're talking about. So now I'll be passing over to Erin, who's going to be talking to you about the different questions that you could ask during the interview.
So, back in the 1970s, companies like AT&T and Accenture started using what we know as behavioral-based questions when they were giving their interviews. They're pretty common today. We keep using them over and over. Any interview you go into, you're probably going to be asked a behavioral-based question. So behavioral-based questions are pretty much exactly what they sound like. We've talked about them a little bit here in this class. They're questions like, give me an example of a time you've done this, or tell me about a time you've done this. They're basically how you've acted in the past in workplace situations. So the most common of these are things like, give me an example of a goal you've set and how you've reached it, or tell me about a time you've handled conflict in the workplace. Another big one is, give me an example of a time you've worked well under pressure. So the reason why companies use these is because the basic idea that how you've acted in the past is a pretty good indicator of how you will act in the future. So say for example you ask the classic, tell me a time that you've handled conflict at work, and the applicant gives you this great story about how they were working on a team project and the person they were working with was completely difficult to work with, but they were able to talk it out, get through it, and get the project done without sacrificing any productivity. That's great. It sounds amazing. You want to hire that applicant because, you know, based off that story, it seems like they can, you know, handle conflict, work well with others, and do these team projects. Come on, man. Now, assuming that story's true, you're going to want to hire that applicant. The problem is that it's so easy to make up these stories. You can just Google behavioral-based questions and answers, and have a good answer to give and fit, you know, a cookie-cutter story and appear better. So, for example, over the summer, I applied to Schultz & Associates law firm up in Hackensack, New Jersey, where I live. Now, she just needed help with general office work, filing, scheduling, answering phone calls, stuff like that. Now, I was completely unqualified for this job. I've only worked as a server, in retail, or at a movie theater. I had no experience working in an office, and she really had no reason to hire me. She asked me a question along the lines of like, give me an example of how you impacted one of your last workplaces. I was completely caught off guard, had no answer to give her because I've never really done anything extraordinary at a job before. But I gave her a story about how I convinced the owner and operator of the movie theater to change the POS system so that it was easier to navigate and get customers through the line faster. That was a complete lie. I had nothing to do with that. I just came in one day and the system was different and I had to learn it. But she believed it because she didn't do her due diligence and call the company and see if I was lying or not, so I got the job. Because of this, because it's so easy to just make up these stories and find answers online to give, a lot of companies are no longer asking behavioral-based questions. Forbes has even made multiple articles about why you shouldn't be asking behavioral-based questions. But what you can do if you really want answers to these kinds of questions is you can ask for more details. So instead of saying, tell me about a project that you've worked on and how you did it, you can say, give me the step-by-step process of your decision and the success of the project and why you think your decision influenced it. Because asking for more details will make it more obvious when an applicant is lying and make it harder for them to lie. Now for this last bit, I'll be talking about illegal interview questions. Some of these questions are flat out illegal, others aren't, but they're on the cusp that if a discrimination lawsuit came up, your company could be liable. So you want to know if a person is legally allowed to work in the US. You want to know if they're paying taxes, you want to know if they can work here. But you cannot ask about place of birth, so you can't ask, are you a US citizen? What you can ask is, are you legally authorized to work in the US? Next, there's a lot of age discrimination, especially amongst older generations. So you cannot ask, when do you plan to retire? But you can ask, what are your long-term career goals? And they'll probably give you an answer to that kind of question. Next, with disabilities. As a company, you're required to provide accommodations for anybody with a permanent or non-permanent disability. But you cannot ask, are you disabled? That's just straight up offensive. But what you can ask is, are you able to perform the duties of this job with or without reasonable accommodations? Next, with religion. Some religions have specific days where you cannot work. But instead of asking somebody, what religion are you, just instead ask them, what days can you work? And they will tell you whether or not they can work Friday nights, they can work Sundays, things like that. Conducting the interview can be pretty tricky. There's a lot of, offensive questions you can ask. There's sometimes applicants lie. So just ask for more details and have a list of questions ready to go. Next up, we have Kayla, who will be talking to you about good and bad interviewing.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Kayla Leone, and I'm going to be talking to you about good interviewing versus bad interviewing. So first off, I'm kind of a psych geek, and I don't believe in that first impressions are always everything, but when it comes to interviewing, they do matter. So that being said, groom yourselves and greet everyone from the receptionist to the bathroom attendants. Anyone that you meet, it's always good to put a good word in for you when it comes to first impressions. So when the recruiter gives you a call or an email scheduling you for this interview, maybe don't answer it. If you can't just answer it and be like, BRB, I can't talk right now. Make sure that you are available to talk to them. That being said, send them an email or a call as soon as you can. You want to show that you care. There's always going to be someone else that wants the job more than you or just as much as you, and you want to show that they're a priority. Know where your interview is. If you put it in your GPS the night before, it usually gives you like traffic included, so it'll say like an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes to get there. Do it the morning of too, because there's always accidents, and that makes you late, as you can tell in late most classes because of that reason. But do it the night before and the morning of. That being said, you don't want to be too early to your interview either. You don't want to be creepy and go 3 hours before and just kind of stare at the receptionist and be like, well, I'm here. So don't enter the vicinity more than 20 minutes earlier. Give yourself enough time to go to the bathroom and whatnot, but don't go up too early because that's just creepy. I don't know who any of these guys are, but I would hire that guy over that guy, even though that guy kind of looks like he wants to kill me. But dress businessy, I'm making that a word. Even if it's somewhat casual, it's better to be safe than sorry. So dress the part even if it's a casual interview. Don't wear your belly outfit. Always bring an extra copy of your resume. A friend of mine had a venti, mocha, choca, frappuccino, milkshake thing, whatever she drinks from Starbucks, and spilled it all over her second resume. And luckily, she actually brought 3, so she covered both in coffee. So even though she went in smelling like coffee, she was still able to give them a resume and something to be remembered by. So always bring a second copy of your resume. We did a lot of handshakes in here, like a lot, so I'm not going to get too much in depth into that. Don't crush their bones, but make sure it's firm. When you're giving eye contact, don't stare into their souls. You don't know them like that. Still look into their eyes though, but you're not telepathizing like that weird guy from X-Men.